If you were to step back 30,000 years into a European winter, the first thing you would notice is not the cold. It is the absence of noise. No engines, no ambient hum of electricity, just the heavy, crushing weight of a landscape locked in ice. And there, in the dark, a human hand moves. It is caked in dried fat and ash. It reaches into the embers of a small fire, pulling out a charred, split piece of bone. The marrow inside is bubbling. Most people assume that our ancestors lived in a state of perpetual starvation, desperately scavenging for whatever scraps the wilderness forgot to hide. We picture them as primitive, miserable, and perpetually hungry, driven by a desperate, frantic need to survive. That assumption is entirely wrong.
In recent years, biological anthropologists began looking closer at what we left behind. Specifically, the microscopic plaque hardened onto the teeth of Paleolithic skeletons. What they discovered dissolved decades of textbook history. Our ancestors did not just eat to survive, they possessed an intimate, almost terrifyingly complex understanding of the ecosystem around them. On any given Tuesday 30 millennia ago, a single human group might consume over 50 distinct species of plants, roots, insects, and megafauna. They ate with the seasons, but more than that, they ate with a calculated efficiency. While a modern human wanders through a supermarket selecting processed calories, an ancient human looked at a landscape and saw a living, breathing, periodic table of nutrients. But this abundance came with a psychological price.
Consider the start of a typical day. Before the sun fully broke the horizon, the morning meal did not come from a hunt. Hunting was dangerous. It expended precious energy. Instead, the first calories of the day were often silent, gathered by women and children who possessed an elite botanical knowledge that has been entirely erased from modern consciousness. They dug for wild carrots, water lilies, and deep earth tubers. They knew exactly which plants would heal an ailment and which would stop a human heart within minutes. To them, the earth was not a passive background, it was an active participant in their survival. But plants alone cannot sustain a brain that consumes 20% of the body's total metabolic energy. The human brain demanded fat, extreme, concentrated fat. By midday, the nature of the diet shifted from the gatherer to the apex predator. But the hunt was not a chaotic brawl. It was a psychological game of chess played across miles of rough terrain. Humans are not the fastest creatures on Earth, nor the strongest. We lack claws, fangs, and armor, yet we hunted animals that weighed tons. How? Through an evolutionary superpower called persistence hunting. An antelope can outrun a human in a sprint easily, but an antelope cannot sweat. It cools itself by panting. By tracking an animal for hours, never letting it rest, humans forced the creature's body temperature to rise to lethal levels.
We did not kill with brute force. We killed by weaponizing our ability to endure. We literally ran our food to death. When the kill was brought back, the true consumption began. Every single part of the animal was repurposed. Nothing was discarded. They ate the organs first, the liver, the heart, the kidneys, dense with vitamins that modern humans now buy in plastic bottles. They roasted the meat, a chemical process that essentially pre-digested the proteins, allowing our digestive tracts to shrink and our brains to expand. The fat was the ultimate prize. It was the currency of survival. In a single evening feast, an ancient human could easily consume 4,000 to 5,000 calories of pure, unprocessed, nutrient-dense food. They ate until their bodies were warm from the inside out. There is an unsettling paradox in this history. Today, we sit in temperature-controlled rooms, surrounded by an infinite supply of cheap, accessible food. We have conquered the wilderness that our ancestors negotiated with every single day. Yet, our modern abundance has created a strange sort of starvation. We consume foods that our biology does not recognize, resulting in chronic illnesses that were virtually non-existent 30,000 years ago. The ancient human went to sleep inside the cave, their stomach full of wild herbs, clean water, and the fat of an animal that ran free until its final hours. They lived in constant peril, yes, but they were deeply, profoundly connected to the literal flesh of the earth. We survived the Ice Age by consuming the wild world around us. The question that remains is whether we can survive the world we built to replace it.